So Fruits Basket takes us on a fairly intriguing direction with this week's episode. I mean, in similar fashion to one of the earlier episodes of Season 2, you kind of feel like you know what's going to happen. You think, okay, it's not going to be that plot heavy, it's going to be a slice of life episode. We've had our time to kind of decompress, understand what a character is, so when characters like Haru or others pop up and they want to stand inside and just basically, get soaked by a sprinkler, we don't think, what's this weirdo doing? We're like, hey, we know this weirdo, we know why he's doing it, and why he inserts himself to say, hey, this is what I want for dinner, even though I don't live there. It just feels like we know what this character is gonna think, or say, more often than not, and even when we're not predicting something, it just feels like that's their character. What else are they going to say? Of course. So you can have episodes upon episodes of just these characters not necessarily progressing towards an objective or a big plot point or something like that, an emotionally heavy arc. You can have a majority of the episode being just adorable Tohru faces where she's going through a haunted house, and might I just say, those are definitely the most precious and adorable faces Tohru Honda has ever had in this show. Bold claim? Not gonna say it's not bold. That's how I honestly feel. Simply seeing her scared in such a simple and ridiculous situation where literally it is the farthest thing from scary, but just because she's so precious, it freaks her out. The amount of time she just reacted and was so hilarious made me melt non-stop, and to see just the worker get so moved by the story they came up with to basically avoid being scared. This show is precious. That's all this episode needed to be. It could have been fun. Sure, there wouldn't have been as much to talk about, but that's not a bad thing. You can have episodes where it is just comfy fun. Look at a lot of shows in the similar style to Fruits Basket, that's what they are. But the difference between Fruits Basket and most shows like this is how it does have a heavy plot. It does have really good character arcs. So it means that even if a majority of an episode is more slice of life and comfy, you can have characters like Arisa interact with a character like Kurno, who, if I'm not mistaken, is either the last Zodiac or one of the last that we needed to meet, who just so happens to be the right hand of Akito and maybe a bit more based on how the grabbing of the face and looking like there might have been a kiss or something like that, I'm not sure, but I mean, they're definitely setting up for a taboo. Can they have this love between him and Arisa? And it'll be interesting to see if they ever do pursue that down the line. If they do, it'll probably be a couple years down the line. For one reason, as it's brought up in the episode, is this even legal? Thank you, Fruits Basket, because so many anime just are like, hey, it's anime, it's fake, we don't have to justify or skate around the top. We're just like, not necessarily that legal of a situation, even if she's more mature than an actual child still. There's reason why laws exist and things like that. So it's nice how they brought it up, and it'll be interesting to see if they ever do pursue it down the line when she's a little older. And it also seems to me that this character is very much like, he doesn't have a life. He is pretty much like bound to Agito, which, I mean, that's basically the family in general. They don't have their own free will. So it's interesting how for the first time it seems like he was truly happy with this high school girl who was smiling in a way that he's never experienced, who knew what to do with her day. Where when he has a day off from basically being a slave to this character, he doesn't know what to do, so he walks around mindlessly. That's so interesting. That's such an intriguing plot line. And when I started seeing this start happening, I'm like, okay. Once again, I thought I knew what this was going to be for Fruits Basket. I thought I knew exactly what was going to happen. Apparently I didn't. And that's something that I like, because even though every episode has at least some plot-centric thing, either with a character arc, the main story with the Soma family, it always feels to me that it can catch me off guard, feeling like we've seen so many minutes of just comfy content. Sure, the episode starts off with like, oh, Arisa, are you getting a boyfriend? What's going on here? But then it just goes into standard Fruits Basket, just silliness and comfiness and things like that. So it made it very easy for me to let my guard down, saying, hey, we're not going to see anything too serious. It's going to be a comfy episode. And don't get me wrong, it is. 75% was basically as if, hey, you know these characters, you know what's going to happen, we can insert them into any situation and just let the viewers have fun. And that's amazing, and I love that. And you can give me 12 episodes in a row of content like that, and I'm not going to be complaining. Sure, probably around episode 6, I'd say, hey, I'd really like to see Agito, or I'd really like to see this, or something really dramatic, but it would still feel good because we've had enough episodes to establish everyone that we've seen past, besides like random hallway characters. All the characters who we get to know the names of and the faces of because they are around a fair amount, they all feel like people. There's no doubt in my mind that is 100% facts. I will stand by that and fight anyone who says otherwise. Not really, because, opinions aren't the end-all be-all, but that's how I feel. Like, it feels like everyone who actually has an importance to the show, even if it's just like a general friend to a character like Tohru, it feels like, okay, they feel like people. So you can really do anything. A lot of times anime make the mistake of basically just giving you personalities. Like, hey, there's 10 personalities, now we're just gonna have slice of life. And you're like, okay, you might enjoy the personality trope, you might enjoy this, but at the same time, they don't feel like people, but rather just an anime character. Where with Fruits Basket, you don't feel that. You feel like they're people. You feel like, oh, that's an actual person with an identity, and that's why we care, because they took the time to establish them. Some get introduced in a very tropey way, and you think, oh, I know exactly what to think and say about whatever they're doing, but in Fruits Basket fashion, given enough time, you say, oh, I was just ignorant because, well, I'm used to anime. A lot of anime, they run the same formula. They do this, they introduce like this, and they never really grow. Where with Fruits Basket, because there is so many characters, and because rather than making it feel just like plot convenience of like, hey, we're going to show you 3 characters, and we're going to focus on them right away, make sure you understand their personalities, and then, okay, you understand them, insert a new character, very plot-centric, and it's just going to feel very forced. But by just saying, here's a big school, there's a lot of characters, some aren't going to be as interesting right off the bat because literally you can't take the time to give everyone the spotlight just right off the bat. It would feel very forced and very congested, as if it's trying to do too much, and in doing so, too many cooks in the kitchen, burn the meal, and it doesn't taste good. But by taking your time, those characters that I'm like, those are stupid. Like, that personality, I've seen it before. Within an episode, 2 episodes, I'm like, I changed my opinion. Arisa is an example. I was like, I knew what to expect with this character. I didn't, and I love her addition to this cast now. That's basically every character in this show, and everyone who, even as I've said, like Akito, like, you want a good antagonist, someone who's going to push your buttons to really make the drama flourish, and this character has been doing a flawless job at that, which is really great. I mean, this episode, it felt like, as I was watching, I kept thinking to myself over the course of this episode, we're building up to something. Summer break's just around the corner here. There's gonna be some drama, but goddamn, am I just melting? Am I just loving the characters and their interactions? And once it really got into the Arisa content and just seeing just her, it's just like, oh, this taboo forbidden love. Should we be rooting for it? Should we be cautious of it? Or should we just observe and see what Fruits Basket has in store? And I sided with the observing and just saying like, hey, I'm not going to have expectations here. I don't want to put myself being like, this is what logically you should do. There's the age gap, there's this, there's that. We know what anime likes to do. Rather, I was like, I trust Fruits Basket. I do. I really, really do at this point in time. Maybe if something like this happened in the first core, maybe I'd be singing a different tune. But because it's happening in the second season, in its first core, I'm like, when has this show ever done me wrong? Never. When has it played into just typical tropes and cliches that make you roll your eyes, cringe, or feel creeped out by? It's never done that. In the brief moments that I thought I knew what was happening, it quickly changed my opinion, saying, oh, I was wrong, and I'm completely fine with being wrong about that. Which is why I don't think this connection is necessarily going to be a dominating thing in the second season. Will it be mentioned and brought up over time? Probably, but it definitely feels to me more something like an end stage where when every character is getting their resolution, something like this may be touched upon in the future, and that'd be perfectly acceptable for me, especially because there is that age gap and how you have a character very much attached and associated with Agito, and then you have someone who recognizes that, hey, I can't just keep chasing after this person, and also questioning if it's even legal. So it's nice how it just gives you something to look forward to towards the end, which is another thing Fruits Basket is doing remarkably well. A lot of times anime, and not even just anime, just stories in general, there are so many properties that get popular, if not mainstream, because they have a killer ending. Not because the rest of the story is good, but just the ending. Because whatever happens towards the last 30 minutes or the last little section of a story is always going to be the thing that people think about the most. If you have a great ending, the shittiest of seasons can be looked at as one of the greatest things ever made. Fruits Basket is not going to be one of those cases. I can tell the ending's going to be fantastic because we have so many characters who are all distinct and interesting, but the reason why Fruits Basket is already stuck in the minds of so many manga readers, but why it will bring in a new generation of fans with this new adaptation, the reason it's going to stick its landing, not only just because it has so many interesting characters with their own stories and struggles and things like that, so they're all going to have memorable, maybe not equally memorable conclusions, but still being like, oh, thank you, you actually gave everyone a chance to conclude, which not many series gets right, especially with as many characters as Fruits Basket has. Look at the first 3 episodes of Fruits Basket Season 1, that's memorable. Look at the next 3 episodes, and after that, and that. The entire first season was exceptional, and I still remember it. Sure, it's not been that crazy amount of a length since we watched Season 1, but still, there's a reason why people look forward to seeing a single character adapted that they never got to see adapted, because that's a memorable part to the story. It's not one character, it's not just Tohru or Kyo or Yuki, it's not Agito, it's literally the entire package, and that's why when this does conclude, I'm going to look back at this, I'm going to be rewatching, I'm going to look back and say, this is why this is amazing. Because it's not that just the ending held it together, but the entire package felt like a very tasty stew, and we just wanted second helpings after second helpings, and we just never wanted to stop eating it, even though our stomach was ready to explode because we've had too much tasty Fruits Basket goodness. Fruits Basket definitely will never be a show for everyone, because it definitely has its moments of, at least at face value, like, oh, that character design or that personality, we've seen it before, let's roll our eyes, let's move on. But every time I watch an episode that, like this, it's mostly slice of life, and there's so many shows that are an entire core of just slice of life bullshit. But Fruits Basket, when we watch Slice of Life here, because they took the time to establish these characters, I just smile alongside them saying, yes, exactly. This is why this is such a good show, because you take your time to establish, so when you go more basic, even though I love my Slice of Life, it's better to know these characters so it feels like a group of friends, and we're a part of that friendship. As silly as that may sound, it makes it feel like the viewer actually has a connection similar to these characters, and that's why it's so memorable. This was a great episode. It was very different, it was very distinct, but that's what's fun. You never know what you're gonna get each week with Fruits Basket. It keeps you on your toes, and that's what's a big reason why it's so damn fun. But as always, let me know your thoughts and opinions on this week's episode of Fruits Basket Season 2, Episode 5 down in the comment section below. Do you love it? Do you hate? Your favorite moment? Whatever you're feeling, tell me no. Remember to leave a like if you did enjoy, and be sure to subscribe if you have been around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.